Hello, Super Sun. How are you?
Hello, good.
Good. Right. Tonight, we've got a couple of topics that we're going to go through. The first one is looking at species and things, something called selective breeding and stuff like that. So, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So, first of all, um, you need to know what a species is. Now, this is quite complicated. If you were to take a goat, yeah,
Yeah.
and a sheep, and they fell in love with each other, and they got married, and they decided to have babies, yeah,
Yeah.
then their babies would be called geeps. Okay. Now, I'm not lying here. Geeps do exist. They do exist. There are such things as geeps. There's also, believe it or not, a creature that happens when you get a lion having a baby with a tiger. Guess what they're called? Ligers. All right. So they have babies called ligers. And again, they do exist. You can have ligers. Now, a lion is, or lions are a species. Tigers are a species. Sheep are. Goats are. But ligers are not. And the reason is because ligers cannot have babies. So you're not going to have a liger, daddy liger and a mummy liger, having baby ligers. It just doesn't happen. They can't do it. They die. So therefore, ligers are not a new species. Similarly, if you were to take sheep, are sheep a species, Alvin?
Yeah.
Yeah. And are goats a species?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are geeps a new species?
No,
And guess what they can't do?
they can't have babies.
Exactly. So species have to be able to be fertile. In other words, they have to be able to produce fertile offspring. In other words, their babies have to be able to have babies. That's what fertile means. If you're fertile, you can have babies. All right. Now, what scientists very cleverly do is they take a particular species, like say, for example, you were to take some cows, yeah,
Yeah.
and you were to mate the daddy cow with the mummy cow. In other words, they, normal thing. They go for long romantic weekends and meals and they fall in love and they have babies, right?
Yeah.
And if you were to choose a daddy cow that, for example, was good at producing milk, yeah,
Yeah.
produce loads of it, and a mummy uh, cow that produces loads of milk, guess what their babies would produce a lot of?
Um,
Well, it's not Lucozade, is it? It's going to be milk, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you can do this and you can create breeds of cows that produce a lot of milk. Frisian cows produce a lot of milk, and they're like the black and white cows like you see in your cartoons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, let's suppose you weren't interested in producing lots of milk, just really good milk, right? Really rich,
Yeah.
creamy milk. Then what would you do, Alvin? What cows would you choose to do this?
Um, a
One,
mummy, a
go on,
mummy cow and a dad cow.
that produce really nice creamy milk, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the really nice creamy milk from the cows is called, well, they're called Jersey cows.
Jersey cows.
Jersey cows. Now, actually, um, I'm being a little bit confusing for you here because cows are like females and bulls are like the males. But the principle applies, right? So you're going to get Jersey cows that are producing rich, creamy milk if their mummy and daddy, the bull and the cow, are both, well, I've dug myself into a hole. If the mum produces nice, rich, creamy milk. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So there are other examples that I could go into, but I won't. The idea of selective breeding is this idea where you choose particular creatures that are particularly have particularly good characteristics, we say, for what we want. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's called selective breeding, and it's all part of a very long process whereby these characteristics can be selected for. Now, I'm going to go on to another topic here, which is a word you might have heard of before.
Evolution.
Very good. Now, what do you understand evolution to be, Alf?
So like when a monkey evolves into a chimpanzee.
And from yes, and into us, exactly. And the way that this happens is because if you've got loads and loads and loads of creatures, yeah,
Yeah.
like this. So here's some creatures. And some of them are male and some are female. Remember that the male ones are like the dads, the female are like the mums, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's have one of them. Now, let us suppose that it is really good if you're a really tall creature in this population. Here we've got a population of creatures, and it's really good if you're really tall. Which one of these creatures is going to be really liked? Is it going to be this one, or this one, or maybe this one? Which one of those is
The
going to be good?
third one.
Yeah, the one at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Now, that happens to be male. Can you see a female one that's really liked as well?
Hmm. That one. The top.
This one,
Yeah.
excellent. So those two will probably get together and have
Those
babies,
two will
right?
marry. Oh.
Exactly. So they'll get together and look at them giving a little hug to one another there. Isn't that nice? So they'll
Yeah.
probably get together and they will have babies that are all a little bit tall, like this. But what about this poor little fella here? Well, he's
He
not
can
likely. Go on.
he can go with that guy.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one
If
next
he's
to the ones that are marrying.
what, this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she doesn't like that one because he's only like not got that tallness thing that they all want. Now, I'm using a silly example and I'm pretending that tallness is important when it isn't, but it might be something really important in order to survive. It might be, for example, that they all live in a river and the river is all really high. So only these ones can survive because they can keep their heads above water. This one drowns, this one drowns, this one drowns. That one will survive, but it hasn't got a partner. So, in this way, certain characteristics are an advantage. And we talk about something called the survival
Of the fittest.
of the fittest. Excellent, well done. Now, fittest doesn't mean you can run a long way. It just means that you've got characteristics, this important word again, that are of benefit, that are of help to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if an alien creature came down to Earth and started exterminating everybody on Earth, I might survive because they'd look at my little fingers. Can you see those?
Yeah.
I've got dodgy little fingers. They may say, he's an alien just like us, don't kill him. And all of a sudden, everybody on our planet would wish they had these favorable characteristics. So favourable characteristics don't have to be something like tallness that we think is good. It can just simply be something that helps us to decide to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the evidence of evolution then, Alvin?
Um, so the evidence of evolution,
I'll give you a clue. Can you guess what the missing words are?
A,
No,
M,
no, it's fossils. Have you heard of fossils?
yeah.
Right, fossils are in the ground and they are the remains of creatures that lived millions of years ago.
Yeah, so it's like the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Now, those changes that I was talking about happen over many, many generations. So, like your great, 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 great granddad, and then your great, great, great granddad, and then your great, great granddad, then your great granddad, changes ever so small changes each time. Like, can you believe that originally, guess how tall horses were?
Very tall.
No, originally they were only the size of large dogs. And they had strange feet. They had feet that had three toes. So this could be like horse's feet. So imagine a cute little horse. You'd be able to ride it, Alf. You'd be able to sit on top. But over years, these became taller and taller and taller, and their hooves became, well, they became hooves, didn't they?
Yeah.
And and so these changes happened over lots of generations. In other words, the babies maybe had more hoofiness, and then their babies had even more hoofiness, and then they had even more hoofiness till they've just got hooves. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the evidence, if you like, fossils. There's other evidence as well. Sometimes you may feel really poorly. Hold on, this is Alvin feeling really poorly. Okay.
Okay.
Poor Alvin, feeling really poorly. And the doctor, what does the doctor give you if you've got like a cough and a cold and stuff like that? What do they sometimes give you to
Cough
put in your
syrup.
mouth? Cough syrup, and they're called antibiotics sometimes. Antibiotics kill bacteria. All right, it's in the word, they are antibiotic. Now, let us suppose that you've got some antibiotic. Let us suppose we've got some bacteria here. How shall I draw bacteria, Alvin, so that
Um,
they look really mean?
Spikes and a
All right,
circle.
all right, little
Spikes and circle.
spikes like that. Is that all right? There's a
Yeah.
bacterium. All right, I'll draw a few. There's another. There's another.
Wait,
There's.
you're duplicating.
Oh yeah, I'm not drawing them out again. I couldn't do that twice if I tried. All right, so you've got all of these bacteria.
Oh, how about drawing a tongue as well?
Oh, hold on then. Okay. Now, these bacteria are what making you feel ill. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, some of these bacteria might be really tough and really strong. Let's make that a really tough, strong one. Let's make that a really tough, strong one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you take your antibiotic, what happens is that maybe this one dies. And maybe this one dies when you take your antibiotic. And then maybe this one dies, and you're starting to feel a little bit better. And then this one dies, and this one dies, and this one dies. But you've still got
Two
that
big ones left.
two big ones left. But you feel miles better. You feel fine. And guess what? You stop taking your antibiotics. You don't complete the course. Do you remember how I said we've got to finish the bottle when you had your antibiotics? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now you're going to find out why. Because if you don't finish the bottle, then those two hardy ones, the two that are really tough and strong, are still there in your blood. And as soon as you stop taking your antibiotics, guess what they're going to do?
They're gonna make you sick.
Well, they're going to do this. And then
They're
they're going
gonna
to do this.
duplicate.
Yeah, and then they're going to do this. And before you know it, you've got a load of bacteria that actually your antibiotic doesn't have any effect on because these are even stronger. And we say that these antibiotics, these bacteria are resistant to the antibiotic. They're resistant to the antibiotic. They don't have any effect on anymore. In other words,
Which
what's
means
happened?
they're tougher.
Yeah, they're tougher. And their babies are tougher, and their babies are tougher again. And because the ones that survive, survival of the fittest, remember, are the ones which are best equipped to survive the antibiotics, you get ones that are resistant. There's a resistant strain of bacteria. So that's sort of evidence, isn't it, for
Yeah.
evolution? The fact that we had survival of the fittest and the fact that we, over many generations, produced something that actually was able to survive the antibiotics. That's why you've got to complete the course of antibiotics. Now, some creatures we can see from our fossil records died out completely. And you need to know a little bit about one or two of those. We call those species extinct.
Oh, I've heard
Now,
of that. I've heard of that.
okay, matey, so can you think of any extinct species?
Um, Dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs are extinct. Very good. Have you heard of this creature?
Yeah.
What is it?
That's the bird who couldn't fly.
Yeah, the dodo suffered two reasons why the dodo died out.
It was.
One,
I
go
know,
on,
I know. Can I tell
go
you?
on. Yeah.
One, it was so tasty, and two, it couldn't fly.
Absolutely. It's a really bad news for the dodo that it tasted so good. Imagine Kentucky Fried Dodo. That would be really tasty. And they couldn't fly, so they couldn't even escape. So that's not very good for the dodo. They all died
Poor
out. And
dodos.
poor dodos. I'd love to be able to travel in time so I could go back and eat some dodo. That sounds
Ah,
dreadful, doesn't it?
no.
Anyway, thank you for your time this evening, Alvin. We're going to probably have something to eat that will be fairly pleasant. I'm not making any promises now. Certainly, we won't be having any dodo. See ya.
Bye.